Anja here, and I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks. And today I am here with a blanket that I have made with the vintage pack. So we have this color pack on our website, and I chose the colors to represent a soft vintage vibe, and I wanted to make a really easy but effective blanket with them. So what is my plan? Well, I am making large squares with this pack, granny squares made up of 15 rows. So every granny square has all the colors used in a random way. So as you can see, each square is unique and is different. I used my 3.5mm hook. So I am not going to show you how to make a granny square. I have done that in various videos, and I am going to show you here how I go about picking the random colors. So I put them on one side of my work table or my sofa. If I'm sitting in the sofa, I use it and then I move it on to the other side. You can also use two baskets, from one basket to the other, or just like I am doing here, if you're sitting at a table, just put them from one side to the other. This way you will be able to keep track of the colors that you have used, and you know when your square is finished. So the last row is then used to attach it to the blanket. So I'm now ready to attach this square to the rest of my blanket, and I have done half a corner, so that means 3 double crochets and 1 chain. I'm now going to go into this corner here, go in, bring up the yarn and do a little slip stitch. There we go. And I do a chain and I continue doing my corner. And so I am using the last row of my square to immediately attach to the rest of the blanket. This will then eliminate, having to need more than one ball of a color to do the attaching. So I've now done my 3 double crochets. I'm going to go in between the 2 clusters on the other square, do a slip stitch, and you continue working your side. And after each cluster, you go over to the other square and you do your slip stitch. And of course, up to now, I have done just the one side because that's where my 2 squares were touching each time. And there. And of course, now I am this far ahead, so I now need to do 2 sides because we were attaching to that and we were attaching to that square. So this is where we are at the moment. And also this way you are immediately using your square to turn it into a blanket. You don't have a pile of squares waiting to be assembled. And also as you are making 15 rows of each square, you will be using your 15 balls. But if you don't attach them straight away, you'll have a bit of a problem figuring out which color it was that you didn't use in that last row for attaching them. So I suggest you just, attach straight away with that last color. As you saw from the video, I was just doing it random. And now all my balls have ended up on the other side, ready to start my next square. And when you get to the corner, you just start doing your corner. So the 3 double crochets, a chain, and then you look at the junction here. And although you should be going, I don't know which one you should be going. Maybe you should be going in this one, maybe in this one. I tend to go in this one, the one across. I just look for the one that I think is the most secure and is less likely to stretch, kind of thing. So there we go. Chain, And then, as you've seen, I've turned my work. I'm doing my 3 double crochets, and then we do our slip stitch, and off we go doing the rest of our side. So when you get to the end of the row here, once again I'm doing half a corner, and then I go into the opposite corner space there. And then I continue my round, because look, I started here, which makes that I'm only doing 1 more cluster here, which of course is easier because then you don't have to do all that much with all the blanket attached. So I have now attached 9 squares together. It makes a lovely square blanket, and I am going to get started on the border. So for this border, I have decided I am going to make a 3D border, and it's going to look like English roses in a basket. Okay, so I'm going to start with mocha. Then I'm going to do sage leaves for the roses, and then of course pale rose for the rose itself. So I'm going to get started with the mocha. I'm still using my 3.5. I'm going to do a slip knot so we can get started with a standing stitch. Insert your hook. And I'm just going to get started here so I can show you the corner, because that's the main thing that we will be dealing with in this border. So you yarn over. I am going to start using the V's of the stitches now, so no longer in between the clusters, but we are going to be picking up the V's, and we are going to be doing half double crochet. So that means you yarn over, you insert, you pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops, yarn over, and you pull through the 3 loops on your hook. So I have now made it to the corner, and you just count to make sure that you've done your 3 stitches. Then I am going to place 3 half double crochets in the corner. Now that's the theory, of course. 3 half double crochets, 2 chains, and 3 half double crochets. But if you find that your corner becomes pointy, then it might be worth doing 2, 2, 2. But I think, in fact, this looks okay. So yes, for every round and for every corner, you just need to make sure that, you know, depending on your tension, on how tall your own stitches are, you need to just make sure that your corner is looking nice. So then we start going underneath the V's again of the stitches, and off you go again. Now, if you have a location like this here, where you've actually started and finished a row, to be honest, I never worry about not doing that stitch, because there'll be stitches enough in this border, I tell you that. I just skip it and nobody can tell, and it's all, you know, a good cause when you want to try and avoid a wavy border. So now we are approaching the location where 2 squares meet, and we need to make up our mind what we do here. Again, less is more. So I just tend to put 1, and I go over to the next one and I put 1, and I start doing my half double crochets again. So I just put 1 half double crochet into that chain space, and for me that's fine. So just putting the 1 half double crochet in those chain spaces is plenty, and this will help you avoid getting a wavy border. So I will see you now when you have completed the whole round of half double crochets, and I will meet you here. So I am just finishing my round here, and as you can see, this first half double crochet, because it was a standing half double crochet, it closed up for me. So I'm going to go under the next V here, and I'm just going to do a slip stitch, and that closes my round. So then we will do 2 chains, 1 and 2. And then we are going to get started again on doing half double crochets under every stitch. So 1 half double crochet into every V. So here we are approaching the corner, and I just keep putting my half double crochets. Then here I'm going to make sure that I place the amount of half double crochets that I can get away with. I think I might have to do 2 half double crochets, 2 chains and 2 half double crochets this time, just so that my corner doesn't become too pointy. But it's perfectly all right to do that, but just make sure that you do this in this round. So the previous round I did 3. This round I'm just going to do 2. That will ensure that my corner does not become pointy. I will meet you here when you finished your second round of half double crochets. And I have just made it to the end of my round here. So this stitch, that's the one where the chain 2 is coming out of, so I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to skip that chain 2, go under the next V there, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. There we go. So that has finished the round, and to be honest, I think this is wide enough for my basket of my border, and so now we're going to go on to the leaves. So cut off this yarn. So let's make our slip knot. Insert your hook, and I'm using Sage at the moment, and this round we are doing 3 double crochets together and then a chain 1. So that means we have a multiple of 2, and it also means I am not going to worry where I'm going to get started on my border. I can easily adjust. I can easily skip a stitch somewhere if I need to. So I'm just going to yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to start again on the next double crochet. So yarn over, insert into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So we now have 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, and you pull through the 4 loops on your hook. So this is a 3 double crochet together, then you do a chain 1. So these are your 2 stitches that you create per time that you repeat this little sequence. You also will have to skip a stitch because of course we've done a second stitch here, a chain. So we're going to skip this one, and then the next lot will be placed in here. The chain that we do will be for this one there. So you yarn over, you go into the next one after skipping one, and you do your 3 double crochets together again. And there we go. chain 1, skip 1, and the next lot in the next V. And this way we're creating little beans, and we are really making the little leaves for our roses. So I am nearly at the corner, and let me just check to see, what do we think? I think I'm going to put another bean there. So yes, I have done my chain and I have skipped one. So this is a good location here for that last bean. Do your chain 1, and then into the corner here we are going to do another 3 double crochets together. Then I'm going to do 3 chains, because of course our stitch here, that only gives us 1 chain. Then we usually do 2 chains for the corner, but of course that would not be enough. So I thought 3 chains, and then another lot of our 3 double crochets together, chain 1, and let's have a look. I think that will be okay for the corner. And then of course from then on you skip 1 there and you do your next lot in the next stitch. And this is how you are going to continue all around your edge of your blanket. And of course each time you meet the corner you're going to have to make sure it tallies up, but it's not going to be all that obvious if you skip an extra stitch rather here or even right before you reach the corner there. So in the whole scheme of things, I don't think that will show up, and it will help us enormously to be able to complete this border, of course. So I will meet you when you get here. Okay, so I have made it all the way around and it doesn't work out. Never mind, I'm just going to skip a stitch. It does not matter. So there we go, so that's that. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'll just go on to that very first one that we did, skipping 2 stitches instead of 1. This one here closes up for me, so I'm going to go under that one there, and I will do a slip stitch. And that will be fine, nobody is going to notice that. So that is the end of the first sage row. So this represents to me, you know, the leaves. And so now let's get on with the roses. So I tightened up this a little bit here, and you can hardly notice that we have skipped 2 stitches there. So now we are going to be doing the roses. So I'm going to use, as usual, my slip knot, insert my hook, and we are going to be making popcorn stitches. So very simply, we are going to place them in between the little leaves that we have created in the sage row. So starting with a standing double crochet, we are going to do 5 double crochets in between those petals, or that's what I'm calling them anyway. So there we go. So we have our 5 double crochets. Now you've seen I've taken my hook out, I've pulled up the loop a tiny bit. I'm going to go back to the first one, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, as you know, this is my standing stitch. It always closes up a little bit for me. I'm going to try and still get in there, undo it a little bit. I mean, it's only for this first one. Put the loop back on your hook and pull it through. So make sure you hold on to your end here as well, just to secure that. Then you're going to have to do 1 chain for the top of your popcorn and 1 chain for bridging towards the next petal. In there, in between here, you're going to do your 5 double crochets. 3, 4 and 5. Again, loop up, out, go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the 5th one here. So not into, obviously, the chain that we've done there. Loop your loop back around and pull it through. And this way, 1, 2, this way you are creating a 3D effect. And really, I am wanting to say that this is, you know, roses because, of course, of the name of the yarn, and it's going to give our border a 3D effect. So you go back to that first double crochet that you did and you pull your loop through, 2 chains, and off you go again. Now here we are at the corner.
In the corner you are going to be placing a popcorn, 4 chains and a popcorn. Those 4 chains are made up of the little chain that you do on top of your popcorn, and then of course you do 3 chains for the corner. But in total you're doing 4 chains.
So this is the first popcorn.
You finish your popcorn with a chain and then you do 3 chains for the corner. So in total you've done 4 chains.
And then you start your second popcorn.
So close it and turn it into a popcorn, then do your chain on top and your chain to skip a stitch. And then you skip the next petal and of course you start making more popcorns on the other side of your blanket. There we go. So this row will take up quite a bit of yarn, so make sure you have enough to get round.
And I will meet you now when you have made it all the way around and you are back here. So I'm just doing the last few roses on my border here. Now the thing is, this border took quite a long time, or at least this row did, and it also took a lot of yarn. So if you are planning on making your blanket bigger than the one that I've made, then make sure you keep at least a full ball for these roses. You know, if your blanket is bigger. The square one that I've made, it's just enough, with having used the pale rose in every square as well. So what you could do is make sure that you use it in a short row each time in each square, and then you will have more left over. So I also weighed my yarn to see how much I had left over of each ball, because of course you're just using them randomly and you don't know, you know, whether you might have used one particular color for bigger, longer rows. So I made sure that yes, the pale rose was one of the ones that I had the most left over. And I have to say, yes, it was a lot of work, this border round, but I thought it was worth it. So there we go. So I'm just doing my last little rows here and doing my 2 chains, going to the first one that we did and just seeing where it is sensible to go under and do a slip stitch. There we go. Okay, so now we are going to do another round of sage petals or sage leaves, and yeah, also the sage, you know, as you're doing 2 rounds, you might have to make sure that, you know, you have enough of that. So make sure that ball of sage was also the one that was weighing the most. You could also have used Lincoln, for example, because that one is in the pack as well, and that one had some, you know, left over as well. But of course, sage had the most left over. That's why I opted for that. So, slip knot, insert your hook. We're going to yarn over, and we are going to be just going in between 2 roses, and we just do our 3 double crochets finished together again. So this is how you will be doing your whole row again. And this row is much quicker than the roses one. And don't forget to do your chain in between. There we go. So now we're at the corner, and here I am going to do 1 petal of 3 double crochets together, 1, 2 and 3 chains. Then I turn, and then I do another one of those 3 double crochets finished together. 1, and then you move over to the next location. There we go. And as you can see, we have our corner there. So this is how we are going to continue, and I will meet you when you get here. And I am just finishing my second round of my petals here. Well, the leaves. I keep calling them petals. There we go. And once again here, this is closed up, so I'm just going to go under this one here and do a slip stitch to close the round. So onto the mocha again, and let's do a slip knot, ready to do 2 rounds of half double crochets. So the first round, of course, we are going to have to establish our stitches again. So yarn over in between the 2 leaves, and we do our half double crochet, and then yarn over, and you find that bigger V on top of the leaf there, and you do another half double crochet, then in between and under that V, in between and under the V. And I thought that worked really well, and it will be a uniform look throughout if you do it the same way. Then in the corner, I am going to be doing 3 half double crochets, 2 chains and 3 half double crochets. There we go. And then here you're just going to have to, I think I'll put one under that V here, just to bridge that, and then off we go again, doing in between and under the V. There we go. So I will meet you when I get here. Nearly the end of my first row of half double crochets. Once again, if you are wanting to do this particular border, make sure you have enough mocha left over. Close the round with a slip stitch, chain 1, and see where you're going to be placing your first half double crochet. There we go, into the first stitch, and off we go again. And we're doing our second round. I do think it needs a second round because obviously we have done 2 rounds to start with, and so it looks better if it has, the same width there as there, because that looks a little bit funny. So yeah, second round of half double crochets. Same thing on the corner, we make sure we do the stitches here, then in the chain space we do our 3 half double crochets, 2 chains and 3 half double crochets. But again, if you feel it's a little bit pointy, then do less. Let's have a look. I think that's fine. And off we go. And this is now, yes, the last round of the border. So there you go. I think this looks okay, and I will see you at the end of the row here. And I am just doing the last few stitches here, and my goodness, do I like this border. Oh my goodness. Right, let's cut off the yarn, pull it through, and of course sew in your ends. But look at this, and of course it's 3D, so it's like a little bit stand up. Yeah, I really, really like it.
Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!